Greetings and welcome to Diabetes. We're going to talk today about reversing type 2 non-IDDM. Nothing fancy about that. It just means that you're not insulin dependent. So those are for people that are not completely dependent upon using a pump or some sort of insulin injection. Diabetes is quite popular in the world today, and a lot of people are either being treated for pre-diabetes or they have an official diabetes diagnosis. What I'm going to cover today is how you can reverse type 2 on your own and with a little help from your doctor or a good coach. A little bit about me is that I've been helping people to reverse disease and live their lives more joyfully and healthfully for about 32 years now. I can be found at my website naturallywithkaren.com, and I have upcoming courses, a beautiful upcoming thyroid book, and I do individual consultations in person at my shop in Minnesota, through Skype or on the phone all over the world. They're $75. And I cover you individually, privately, and confidentially. We cover any subject that has to do with health so that you can find ways to get yourself into a more healthful life with more joy and more energy. You can find me on my Facebook page at Naturally with Karen, on Twitter, or on Instagram. There's plenty of ways that you can find out good, free, useful information as well as directly connect with me on an individual consultation. Over 100 million people in the United States have diabetes and prediabetes at this time. Most of them have type 2. Type 2 is a lot more common because type 1 comes from many generations of being autoimmune compromised. That means that many mothers for many generations were deficient in their pancreas energy. Just like someone in the Chinese medicine system can be deficient in spleen energy or liver energy. And for that reason, you see a lot of people drinking Jing, J-I-N-G, in the morning instead of drinking an acid-depleting cup of coffee. They want to give themselves energy that will boost them from the core and not just artificially prop them up. And that's what this webinar or this presentation is all about, is teaching you how to be able to reverse type 2 diabetes the same way you got into the situation. Just common sense. When you find out that you have diabetes type 2, chances are you had a blood glucose test, and the blood glucose test was not in the normal range. You were likely suffering from symptoms that looked like hypoglycemia, where you felt lightheaded, and you might have even had hypotension, where your blood pressure was extremely low. Young people and children are even being diagnosed in higher numbers today because of the food system that we consume, because we eat and drink a lot of empty calories, something that we've never experienced before. And that leads us to obesity, large stomachs, being overweight, and of course, metabolic issues. Obesity has never been what it is as it is today. And so we see these large bowling ball bellies, which are largely hormone storage. It leads us into vaginal infections, feeling as if we're always tired, blurred vision, and the feeling as if we always want to eat. You need to know the symptoms about diabetes. It's something that is a little more meaningful than just sticking your finger and pulling out a drop of your blood to check and see what your levels are. But I'm going to show you, and I show all of my clients, exactly why it's not only key, but it's crucial to understand that the ways that you've been taught to treat and to check disease and the ranges you were told you needed to subscribe to are not necessarily the pillars of health. In fact, they might just be the opposite. You need to know the symptoms of diabetes more than you need to know some of the other factors that you're commonly educated about. You know if you're frequently using the bathroom, if you've got sudden weight loss, if you're always tired, This might not be diabetes, it might be several different conditions, all of which have everything to do with what I'm going to be showing you and teaching you here. And it's what I'm all about teaching my clients about. We have no shortage today of what I call glandular epidemics. We never had enough minerals, nor the proper food system, nor did we truly drink water that flowed free and fresh over the spring rocks, gathering minerals that we needed. So today, as we drink water out of plastic BPA bottles like never before, filling our landfills and filling our oceans with masses the equivalent the size of many islands out in the Pacific, we have diseases that have been codified. That means they might have a name that we're familiar with, but they actually have a disease code number. That disease code number has really little to do with your actual health and your healing. It has a lot more to do with standardized insurance billing. Diabetes type 2, non-IDDM, meaning not insulin dependent, means that your pancreas, your gland that is your pancreas, has been affected. When our glands are assaulted by environmental toxins, think back to the 50s and 60s, we had plagues of the use of DDT, a very harmful neurotoxin that was used as an insecticide. As it washed off of a lot of our crops, it entered into our groundwater, and after it entered our groundwater, it became a good part of our food. People began to drink it, and people began to be more affected by DDT and other harmful chemicals and neurotoxins than ever before. In order to take care of our birth control needs, we began consuming artificial and synthetic and animal-derived hormones. And in order to cover up the stink of the food that we ate, which was not food for us at all, that we constantly sauced, spiced, and routinely prepared in different ways to mask what we were eating, we began to stink. And as we stunk, we began to apply even more neurotoxins to our body by way of, for women, shaving our underarms and applying an aluminum-based antiperspirant filled with artificial fragrances. People began to spray their chest and their throat with artificial funded hormone pheromone colognes and perfumes. And our pancreas took the lion's share of the brunt. If you look at the picture on the lower right, that's not just a Nike symbol or an Adidas symbol, that's your pancreas in orange. You need to know where it is and you need to know what it does. It's going to help you convert a lot of the food that you eat. When you turn it with your saliva into chyme and get it into your system, it's got to help you turn it into energy, just like the rest of your glands. So when our glands are assaulted by these environmental toxins, cigarette smoking, alcohol, vaccines, drugs, and what we call medications are also drugs. Excess weight, stress, and denatured foods, meaning foods that really don't have any good quality nutrient calories to them. Calories are energy. Our pancreas is not able to function well. If you look at the image on the lower left, you'll see a woman that's got a very large body mass index as compared to a woman with a smaller body mass. And you can see that her pancreas is not going to get the same level of circulation and energy as the woman with a lesser body mass. What you don't need, if you have diabetes, or you just want to live a healthy, sane life where your emotions are not on a roller coaster, you don't feel like you're dependent on medications and doctor's visits, then you need to let go of the cigarettes, alcohol, but also the toxic people, toxic thinking, and the toxic ingredients. Now, I cover a good deal about toxic thinking in my mind-body course because you are what you think and you are what you eat. If you're having toxic thinking because you're eating foods that are very denatured and your body isn't getting enough of what it needs, you're going to be having anxious, depressed, and potentially suicidal thoughts. That means that it translates into a direct connection between the mind and the body into saying, hey, I'm not sure I really want to be here, which is completely different than going out on a sunny day and smiling and enjoying your life and embracing life. So let's get back into making good choices. Alcohol is never a good choice. It's a liver intoxicant, and it ends up causing a lot of pain inside of your body in the way of inflammation. What do you need? You need motivation. Motivation helps you to build on your successes. And I often teach about daily habits of love and success, which means if you get up and you take a moment to remember your dreams, release tension out of your body, get up and do your couple of chores, replace your hand towels, do a little bit of your sweeping, have some room temperature water, take a probiotic to help take care of your gut, your microbiome, you're going to have your little list out of things that you're going to accomplish without going into heavy doses of task orientation. You're going to create reward incentives for yourself. For me, that might look like I'm going to work today until about 4 o'clock. I'm going to go grab my dogs and go get outside and get some sunshine. I'm going to enjoy a nice coconut water that I was able to buy thanks to my putting in a good day. I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to generate new ideas. And I'm going to keep establishing good habits as I set new goals. And the whole while, I'm going to be focusing on my dream. If you have a dream, that's like the carrot at the end of the stick for the horse. You can keep focusing on that dream and use your motivation so that you can actually see yourself months from now no longer dependent on diabetes, nor the emotional ranges that are created by way of having glucose and insulin spikes. So is diabetes reversible? Absolutely. I was recently engaged in teaching plant-based medicine classes through community education. I've taught 14 courses over the many years, and I've also taught through Whole Foods. In fact, I have a raw gluten-free cheesecake class coming up next Tuesday. I absolutely love making food your medicine. So I scheduled to teach a class over at our local hospital, 5 Thursday nights for $90. Come on in and taste the food. I would buy the organic food for that price and supply the folks that came to the class with a nice handout and the ability to see the food being prepared. Talk a little bit about how the food as medicine was in each thing that I made. Well, once the diabetes educators got a hold of that, that is a definite clash with standard traditional nutritionists. People that are still talking about eating turkey and eggs and bone broth. I was going to bring about plant-based nutrition no different than a lot of the other doctors today that also have been reversing diabetes like I have for over 10 or 15 years. And we know that the human body is actually completely geared for using and utilizing all of the minerals, including the calcium, magnesium, chromium, and all of the various minerals that come out of eating a good quality plant-based diet. I was denied the ability to teach that class at the hospital ever since. You see, a plant-based diet is going to remedy most of what ails you. Even if you use it temporarily and you say, well, I really enjoy eating meat, I'm going to go back to eating that. You may be going back to eating the grass-fed meat and a very clean-sourced meat instead of factory-farmed meat. I'm not entirely wrapped up in the control of what you eat, not at all. In fact, I just want to see you healthy because unhealthy people that are emotionally toxic and physically limited, they present a burden not only for themselves, but as well as for local communities in the world. And when I hear frequent discussion about the burden of the taxpayer and the healthcare system, I have to scratch my head as I have for the last 32 years and wonder that if all of us were together growing food and eating a plant-based diet, would we even need such an atrocious system? Sugar is not your only enemy. That's what you've been taught, though. If you have diabetes, you're taught to constantly check your sugar levels. You're taught that, of course, you're going to have symptoms that mimic hypoglycemia. You're taught that you're going to probably be insulin dependent for the rest of your life, and you're definitely going to be in a weakened state. You're not going to be as strong in your muscles, you're going to be urinating all the time, and you're not going to feel good. You're not going to sleep good, and you're going to be another person who's a direct consumer of the medical industry. More drugs, more surgeries, and potentially chemotherapy and radiation. All of that weakens not just you, not just the one, but it weakens the whole. Sugar is not the largest problem for diabetics. You see, people that have been drinking out of BPA containers and people that have been minerally devoid and deficient end up creating autoimmune disorders by adding the chemicals that are inside of most of the vaccines, by not getting enough water, by having water that's got harmful chemicals in it, and by eating factory farmed animals that we call meat. These factory farmed beings are living beings that live inside of warehouses devoid of sunlight, and sunlight is our #1 benefactor. It's what fuels our energy. And these animals, these beings, are being injected with growth hormones and other chemicals and inoculated through their water system with chemicals and ingredients that actually cause us direct harm. Dr. Gabriel Cousins and many others have reversed diabetes quite easily by restoring the body, resurrecting the body, as it says on my business card, and your glands using raw and vegan diets. Diabetes type 1 is a little bit different. It's a longer standing issue within your family, and it might require doctor's supervision. Of course, I advocate for the plant-based diet. You can see all the colors, the minerals, and you can have a feastival. You can do juice feasting instead of feasting on carbs and dry baked, overcooked foods that dry out your system. I'm a huge proponent of fresh juice in the morning. Juicing is going to take you everywhere you want to go. It's one of your best tools ever. You're going to get fresh enzymes, vitamins, and minerals into your body in a quick and easy way to digest them. Many juices are going to actually expedite healing your gut, your microbiome. They're going to help you to heal your throat, help to clean and detoxify your blood, and make it so much easier to repair your organs, which means potentially your pancreas. We can't leave off this presentation without speaking about exercise. Because when you're diabetic, you don't necessarily feel like doing the kind of exercise you might see in this picture. You might not feel like getting up in the morning and doing some yoga, especially if you live in the Midwest in a climate that's really gray and has a very long winter. But once the sun shines out again, get outside and really make the best of it. Get outside and walk around the ocean if you get a chance to go or you live close by. Get out and walk around the lake. Get out and walk around the soccer field if you're at your grandchildren's game. And get a mat out and just start doing a little bit of yoga. It doesn't have to be fancy. Exercise is going to benefit you in profound ways. And one of my best exercise recommendations for over 32 years has just been free. It's walking. You're not inside of a gym that's full of electromagnetic fields, lots of energy waves bombarding you, lots of huge sound bombarding you. You can get outside and walk out in nature, photosynthesize some sun, notice the birds, and just relax and shut off your mind. You don't have to put headphones on. Just allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to walk 2, 3, 5 miles a day, especially with a flexible shoe on your foot. If possible, walk barefoot on the ground on a clean, grass or dirt, and allow yourself to pick up electrons from the earth, which actually heal us. My final thoughts on diabetes type 2 is that diabetes type 2 is actually easily and completely reversible. I want you to learn how to balance your food as medicine. That's what I teach my clients. When we have sessions on the phone that are essentially coaching, we might coach for 2, 3, 4, 6, or for 6 months, depending on how long you've had your diagnosis. I help you to find step by step with clear instructions ways that you are willing to eat by finding out what you're not willing to eat, by finding out what your habits, your symptoms, and what some of your mind-body issues are. We learn together how to balance your food as medicine, not just prescribing what I would eat to you in the way of food, but actually listening to what types of things you're used to making so that I can help to guide you in a gentle way that's going to give you extremely effective benefits. We'd like to start your day by beginning with fresh made juice so that you've got enzymes in the body, and incorporating a little bit of exercise into your life every day, and then gradually reducing and then eliminating poor habits. Cigarette smoking, spending time in smoky casinos, maybe eating nutrient-devoid food and denatured foods, and beginning to eat a clean-based diet. Food that doesn't have as many chemical sprays on them, insecticides, pesticides, and fungicides. Let's start by also setting aside a half a gallon of water daily so that you know how much water you're drinking instead of trying to guess glass by glass and wondering at the end of the day. And let's try to avoid excess vaccinations. There's no shortage of signs when you go to your grocery stores or your Walgreens, Walmart. You see the signs out front of the pharmacy that say, come on in and get your flu, your pneumonia, your shingles shot. Maybe you don't need a shot for the flu. Maybe your dog doesn't need a shot for a cold, which is called a bordetella. Maybe we've gone too far with injecting, imbibing, and ingesting chemicals in our food, our water, and our air. It's time that we start looking at things through a clear glass. It's time that we start elevating our health and reducing our body weight. It's time that we let go of a lot of doctor dependency and allow doctors to do the work that they're truly wanting to do themselves, which is to help people prevent and to help people genuinely heal. So when we take back some of our knowledge and begin to know ourselves, we begin to do a little more of healing ourselves. That's a good place to be. So I'm going to stop for now, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I hope that you'll consider me if you are looking into situations like diabetes type 2, infertility, thyroid issues, or a whole host of issues. I'll help you get where you're going. So long.